Welcome everyone. So we are ready to start with the Unreal. So this is the packaged version of my gallery as it is right now. I'm still going to be doing some more things to it, but just to get this video out, I wanted to kind of show where we're going to end after the next couple of tutorials. I'm going to show also a tutorial on how to make the doors open, doing basic animation stuff. But as you can see, I've got a navigable space, and that's basically where we're going to go, and we're going to go ahead and get started with that right now. Okay, so where to start? You are going to go to epicgames.com, and then you're going to create an account and download the Epic Games launcher. So you're not downloading the Unreal Engine from the Epic Games website, you're just downloading the launcher. And then the launcher looks something like this. So usually it'll start off in the store, assuming you wanted to buy some video games made on the Unreal Engine. And it's kind of a good place to also see like, oh, wow, they made that on the Unreal Engine. Okay, cool. So the place where you're going to find the Unreal Engine is right here. You click on that. You go to Library, and then you click on Plus here, and you add version, whatever the newest version is. Right now for this video, it is 5.3.2, but I know that in beta, they do have the 5.4 coming out pretty soon. And most, if not all of the settings and stuff are going to be the same. They just add some new things. I think they're adding some AI features to the newer version, which will be kind of fun to play around with. But once you get that going, you simply click on the launch window here, and it will launch the engine. The Unreal Engine is a really large program as well, so you do want to make sure you cleared out some space before you download. And also, it is going to require quite a bit of memory and processing capability. So I'm going to go ahead and save my Blender project here, close it down. I'll minimize this for now, but you can see all of my FBXs are lovely right there. Then when Unreal Engine opens up the first time, you see a screen like this. We're going to go to Games, and we're going to go First Person Blank, and then I'm going to create a folder where this thing is going to live. And that folder will be, for me, under Prism Unreal. I'm just going to go ahead and delete my previous one that I did as a test run, and I'm going to go Select Folder, and I'm going to call it. And you want this thing to live in this folder forever. So I recommend putting it on an external solid state hard drive. Don't just put it on a thumb drive unless it's got a really fast transfer speed, and research into that because you can't run a really complicated project off of a flash drive that does not have fast speeds to it. So a solid state external hard drive tends to be one of the better ways to do it. So it's going to compile shaders and open up the blank template. It might take a minute. Okay, so this is what it looks like. The first thing to do is there is a little content drawer. If you click on down here, click on that content drawer and then go to Dock and Layout. I like to have this window kind of locked in. If it doesn't bother you that it has a pop-up kind of thing, then it does take up less screen real estate if you don't have it. But I usually like it to be docked in my scene here. I'll pull this down a little bit here. So welcome to the Unreal Engine. This is the user interface. This is the default first-person template map. Okay. So you can see basically you've got a world with clouds and stuff. The way to navigate the space is a little bit different than Blender and Rhino. Great, another way to navigate 3D. I know, but the way we navigate the space is right-click, orbits around, and it's kind of like set up as if you're a person with a camera or something like that. So you're looking around, and then clicking and dragging in kind of moves through the scene, right? So clicking, left-clicking, dragging in, and then center mouse pans. Center mouse wheel click pans in and out, left and right, up and down. So that's kind of the way it works. And then to focus on an object, you click on it and you hit F to focus on it. And zooming, of course, is scrolling in and out with the wheel. You can control the way that the speed of the camera as well. So if I bump that way up, when I, woo, geez, I just flew away. You don't want it to go that fast, obviously. So slow it down. You can kind of control the speed there. I'm going to go ahead and select something and hit F just to kind of get back to where I was. All right. There are like object snaps, world positioning, moving as well. You can kind of click on these different parts here and navigate that way. Select and rotate an object. You can select and click on that to rotate. You can also use the space bar to switch between rotate, move, and scale. Space bar is super fun because it's very important to know, okay, I'm going to hit space bar. I want to rotate this, click and drag, that kind of thing. So space bar, change the gizmo gumball kind of deal to a different style. You've got along the bottom, this is your content drawer, as I mentioned earlier. This is where all of the objects are going to be kind of laid out and organized, including what we call blueprints. And blueprints are basically, they control the scene. So like in games, you might have a blueprint for if I click on this object, it explodes. That's a blueprint. And it's basically like a form of code that does things. We're not going to get too detailed into blueprints in this kind of project, but it's where like the gaming magic happens. We're mostly dealing with just the 3D models and creating a visualization. So we'll talk a bit about blueprints, but not too much. Other things other than that, we've got starter content, which by default brings in a bunch of fun materials, props, materials. There's also, let's see, like audio cues you can put in there, like collapsing fire sounds, that kind of stuff. Props here, you've got different kinds of like objects, 3D objects. Particles is kind of fun, like you can put a little fire going off in the scene. Go away. Yeah, so there's a little fire going off right there. So these are the particle effects. These are the kind of fun things you can just kind of play with in a room. Looks like a explosion UV map. Okay, so that's the map for the particle. Force delete. I'm going to force delete some stuff. Okay, so some different things you've got in the scene here. So let's see, what else is there? Okay, up here is actually all the objects that are in your scene here. So that's what's there. World settings are super crucial too. So you want to make sure that if that window is not up, you go to Windows here and you click World Settings. So you have access to that. That is the settings for the world. Details are basically like the properties of anything that you select. Like you can see, this is the cube mesh, and then you've got like the material associated with it and its location in space. Okay. And let's see here. Down here also you've got selection mode. You can also bring in like landscape and foliage and all kinds of fun stuff in here. Fractures, how things fall apart and break and stuff, and yeah, animation, all of these different types of things. But we're mostly going to stay in selection, and we'll probably go into landscape and foliage at some point as well. Up here is where you've got all of your stuff that you can bring into the space. Like if I want to bring lights in, or if I need to bring in an actor, which is like your players for the game. Different volumes for like fog, or there's also like buttons and stuff that you can put into the space that we'll talk about at some point as well. So those are all there. Here is your level blueprint, which is going to be the blueprint or controls for the entire scene. And then platforms here, this is where you package your project at the end. So you can package it for Android if you're going to use like a Oculus Quest. iOS is, of course, for Mac. Windows is, of course, for PC. You'll make an exe file. And down here, and I'll go over this again later on, is the type of software development kit that's required to be able to run and package your projects for PC. And you'll see if you selected the iOS one, you'll see the SDK for Mac. It'll have Xcode, and it'll have a number for the Xcode. So that's how you actually package the project to make it an executable file at the end. Great. So that is kind of the lay of the land. Let's go ahead and set up our scene. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of all of the default stuff. I'm going to go static mesh here and hit delete. Okay. And then also there's a first person template little text there. I don't want that. This is, I believe, an explosion I made, and I don't want that. This thing over here is a post-process volume instance, which I'm going to go ahead and get rid of. And I'll bring in a new one later on. So I'm just kind of clearing out the whole scene so I can set everything up from scratch. I'm going to then get rid of this is the sky, the sun, the fog, the earth. We got rid of all of that. And then next, I'm going to bring it back in. So let's go to Window, and I want to go to Environmental Light Mixer, and that's going to bring up this panel here. And I'm going to go Create Sky, Create Light, Create Atmosphere, and Create Volumetric Clouds. So I just got rid of it and reinstalled it so that I have this window tied to my lighting and stuff, so I can adjust anything I need to adjust through the Environmental Light Mixer. So I'm going to close that down. So now we have in the scene a gun, which we'll delete at some point. I can even delete it now. Okay. And then this is the player start, and this is the player. So this guy is the pawn, or the player that's going to move through your scene. If I push play right here, it gives me an action where it looks like I'm running through the game. If I push play, I'm following because there's nothing to stand on, but that was my character there. Okay. Cool. So we are ready to bring in some stuff. I'm going to go up here to the content folder, and then I'm going to right click over here and go to new folder, and I'm going to call it Prism Gal for my gallery. And then I'm going to create three folders in here. I'll create one for textures, and then I'm going to create another one, materials, and then I'm going to create one more for meshes. So I like to keep my stuff all organized into folders. I'm first going to bring in all of my content, my FBX files. So I'm going to go to import, and I'm going to find my meshes here. Sort this by type just to make sure you're just grabbing the FBX files. It should only be bringing it. I don't think your Blender file will show up here because it's not a supported file type. So I'm going to select all of that, and I'm going to open it. Now this is really crucial. If you mess this up, it could screw up all your UV maps, and everything could just be a complete disaster. So do not mess this part up. Okay. So I'm going to go to advanced here. And I'm going to unclick generate missing collisions because I'm going to create them myself. I want to go down here a little bit more. Where's generate light map UVs? Turn that off because we've got our UV maps coming from our software that we used previously, which is either Blender or Rhino for some of you. And I'm going to go ahead and hit import all. And you all can't see it because for some reason it's on my other monitor, but there's a scroll bar that's going across that says importing FBX mesh. I'm not getting any errors or anything as it's importing these because I did set it up to ensure that I was only selecting meshes when I exported from Blender. All right, so once they all import and kind of populate, it might take a little while for them to look like the meshes that they should be. We want to separate these objects into their respective folders. So what I'm going to do first is I will search for materials. And so what a material is a material is basically all the parameters of the object, whether it's got just the UV on it or whether it has like roughness, smoothness, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to click over here in my content area and then select all of the materials and move them into the materials folder. Click on move here. Okay. And then I'm going to search for textures. So textures are the 2D images that are related to said materials. So we'll select all those, move them into the textures folder, move here. This is just housekeeping stuff, but I like to keep my house clean. So next up will be meshes. So just search for mesh or static mesh, but meshes seem to work fine here. Select all of it and then move it into the meshes folder. Okay, move here. Great. So that gives me the meshes. So all of the meshes are what I'm going to move into my scene here. So next step is to move the geometry into the scene. Select all of the meshes. Do not select anything other than the meshes, just the meshes, okay? And then we click, drag, and drop. Might take a second for it to move into the scene. Once it does, do not click out of it. Just wait, and then we'll come over here to our details panel and go to a 0, 0, 0, just so we have everything at the 0, 0, 0 spot. Great. So it's looking pretty good. And yeah, but you know, there's going to be some issues with some of the materials. The water looks messed up. The concrete looks messed up. There are issues with the glass. The glass isn't here for some reason. So let me just go back to my FBX file here. And again, if you are using Rhino, you will probably just have one FBX, which isn't 100% the most ideal, but it kind of works. So, you know, just make do with what you got here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm looking for my glass. And I'm just going to drag and drop it into my here. And then all of the settings from the previous one were sticky. So the glass should be there. I'm going to move this into the meshes folder. Move here. Okay, find my glass. And anytime you're importing something new, as long as it's in the same spot, you know, like in Rhino, right? Like if I change something and then want to import it back, or Blender, I want to import it back, I can just drag and drop it in the scene, go 0, 0, 0, and it'll line up perfectly with the rest of the scene. We can see here that the glass didn't transfer over, which I'm not surprised by. This glass material here, we're going to go ahead and swap it out for one of the starter content materials that we kind of talked about a little bit earlier. So I'm going to type glass up here, and we'll see a material called M glass, and I will just click on that, and we are in business. I'm going to actually have to go through this object and fix all of these, change all these to glass. And I'm going to do that by kind of hacking the glass. So I'm going to change this material here. If I double click on it, you can see it's just a color, right? If I want to make it glass, kind of the easiest way to do it is actually to find in my starter content over here, that material glass here, and I'm going to duplicate it. And then I'm going to move this into my materials folder over here. Here, go to my materials folder, and here it is. And then I'm going to double click to open that, and I get that same kind of panel. I can break it off here. And you can see there's a lot of parameters for the glass that comes in that you don't really have to understand. This is all about having it be shiny and having it being reflective and transparent and all that kind of stuff. What you got to focus on is the color. The color is just this blank color here. So I'm going to delete this, and then I'm going to go to my parameters from that transferred here, and I'm going to Control-C to copy it and paste it. And you can see the materials window looks very familiar. It looks like the shader menu in like the shaders in Blender, if you were using Blender. These are, of course, visual code for how to get the materials to look. And now we've got a nice red glass here. And to get it to apply, you've got it. Yep, you guessed it. Push apply. All right. But it's applying to probably one of my other ones. Let's see, which door did it apply to? Oh, no, I didn't set it as a material. I applied it as a material, but I didn't set it as a material for any of these objects. So if I come over here and I hit F to focus on this object, and then I pull this over here, and I'm going to change. I'm going to go ahead and close this, and I don't want to change that change this, search to glass, and I'm going to use this M glass here. And now you see it's there. Of course, I have multiple instances of it, so I will have to change it for each one of them just by going over here, glass, and glass. Okay, so I'm going to change these materials to get the colorful glass working the way they're supposed to. I can also use that same kind of properties to change this. But probably more importantly, I need to show you the ground plane here, because some of you will have tiled materials that don't transfer properly. So if I go over here, I can also see that for some reason I've got like 6 different materials on this one object, which I don't like. I'd probably go back into Blender and clean that up. But I can also just make it all go to concrete light. Like so that all these slots are the same material. Concrete light, concrete light, concrete light. Light. There we go. So now it's all the same material. Pop up this material here, and we'll look at it side by side with my floor here. My texture coordinate, and this isn't even a normal map. I don't know what happened here, so I'm going to delete that and that. This texture coordinate is set up wrong. It has a 0.004, which I don't want. I want it the opposite way. So that's like super zoomed in on the material. I want it the other way. So I'm going to go like 200 here and 200 here. Well, here, let me show you what it looks like with like 10. Yeah, now you can see, let me maximize this here. You can see kind of the texture of the concrete on here. Let me put it back over here, and I'm going to apply that. And you can see, because we're at the 0, it's kind of annoying that that grid is vibrating because it's on the same surface. But you can see, like, I can change this my coordinate here. I'm going to change it to 150, 150, apply. And that looks a little bit better. Might go up to 200. Apply. Okay. And then same thing with this brick material here. I'm going to double click on this, and that does look like a normal map, right? Yeah, that is a normal map. Okay. But for some reason, it's bumped out like too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and delete this and delete this. And then I'm going to pull out the base color and go texture, sample again, and then click on it, and I can choose my brick. Where is this? Should have looked at what it was called. I forget. This was here, right there. Okay, so now you can see what it looks like there if I apply it, right? Yeah. And for some reason, I'm going to go ahead and pull out a texture sample here. And I'm going to make this texture maybe, not texture sample, texture coordinate. So this is actually not cropping. So this is visual code, right? We're like, instead of typing code into C++, we are actually just using these visualization nodes to plug it in. And I almost think of it as like guitar pedals, right? Like you've got a guitar that sounds a certain way. You plug in different effects, and it does different things to your materials. So I'm going to go ahead and bump this to 0.5, 0.5, apply it a little bit bigger. Oh, it looks like I got 2 walls here. Oh, that's right. I do. I've got the brick. Okay, there we go. Okay. Kind of like that better. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull my normal, because I guess I had a normal map in here. And I'm going to go texture sample again. And then this time I'm going to look for the normal map over here. And that should be probably right below the other one, right there. Boom. Okay. And apply it. And you can see the map on it is a little bit off, but I can pull this texture coordinate and just pump it right into there and apply that. And then we have that offset of the texture aligned with the rest of it. Great. So we can fix materials that way. I'm going to save this and close this, and close this. So you can see how you can make colorful glass and how you can kind of change stuff there. Pop this up a little bit bigger here. Close this here. And then we are, of course, I got to fix all the rest of the glass, but let's talk about this water texture here, right? So I'm going to change this water texture out, and I might even go up here to show you the object editor. So if I right click and go edit water, it brings up this object editor, and then I can really change what is underneath this parameter permanently here. So I can go water, and under my starter content, I have this animated water, which is really quite cool because it gives you that movement to it, right? And so that's nice and free. I can double click on this here. And I can even, I don't have any idea what any of this stuff means. It's all animators and stuff like that. But I can tweak things like the color, right? Like if I want to make let's make this lava. I can do that. Let's go a little bit orangish kind of color here, right? And close this. And then maybe if I wanted to, I can make it kind of glow. So this is emission right here. I'm going to pull that off, and I'm going to go with a multiply. So multiply does exactly what it sounds like. So I can multiply, and I can have this color go into A here, right? And then I can have a constant go into here, the value of like whatever I want. So maybe 10. Look at that glowing, right? Okay, apply, close. So now I've got glowing kind of lava. And yeah, there's more parameters and stuff I could tweak with that. Like, and you can see it's really maybe glowing too bright or whatever to be able to even see the animation. But, that kind of shows you how you can take these starter content materials and really tweak them to your own taste and liking. So I'm going to just close this, and I'm going to put this back to like a grayish, bluish kind of tone here. So yeah, that's nice. So that's playing with the texture coordinates and playing with the tiling of materials and that kind of stuff. Other things that didn't quite transfer properly are metals as well. So if I wanted to, I got to change this thing, hit F to focus on it. And I can come over here, double click on my stainless. Now, yeah, there actually is some cool metal materials in here. So if I look up, maybe even chrome, right? I think there's a chrome that comes in. Yeah, and chrome is really nice because this chrome actually has like a little surface to it that's got like these little dots and stuff that are kind of cool, right? But yeah, nothing wrong with that. That looks good. Okay. But if I wanted to, I can actually make my own chrome. So like there's this chrome, right, that comes in by default. But then this is my stainless that I had previously. I can make my own here. Just pull this over here and go to my metallic and bring in a constant. Constant is like the slider that you used in Blender if you use Blender. And if I wanted to make this super metallic, there's only metal or not, so I'm going to make it metal, which will be 1, which is 100% metal. And then roughness, if I bring down the roughness here and do another constant, and this one at 0, I've got a completely smooth surface, which means it is chrome polished, right? So there's that. Okay, so that's kind of how you can make that yourself. You can also bring down the roughness if that's too crazy for you, but I think I'm going to use this chrome texture just because it's nice and not too reflective for me. And then, yeah, you can, this gold over here, I might hold down a metallic and go constant and bump that to 1. And I like having a matte gold finish for that object. Yeah, so that's basically it for importing it, starting to clean up materials. There's a lot you can do with materials. You can have custom rotators assigned to things where you can animate the materials. Like I could have like a beam of light, like an LED strip, and that beam of light couldn't like move through the space and stuff using what's called a custom rotator. There's lots to dig into. Just ask YouTube for any kind of material that you want to make for Unreal Engine, and it'll kind of show you how to do it on your own. So after you get your materials all dialed in, the last kind of step is to make it so that you can navigate the space. Right now, the way it's set up, I have my starter character, which is way over here. If I focus in on it, this is where I would have my player start. I'm going to move it where I want in the scene. And that blue arrow is pointing to the frontward direction. And I'm going to hit spacebar to where I can rotate it, and I'll turn it this way. Now, the problem is that my character is going to fall through the ground because there are no collisions. So if I hit play, which is to simulate the game, I push play and I just fall through the ground. So in the next video, I'm going to talk about collisions and physics and lighting and get this thing dialed in to be 100% finished. And once I do that, I will be ready to package it and be on my way with it. So hopefully this has shown you quite a bit about materials and different ways of using visual coding to fix up your materials that you brought in from whatever modeling software you're using. And making it ready for action here. So thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next one.